Durant. Blows by Primo. Attack.
Jokic in the power. Here it goes. Got it. Denver has won.
But that's my stubborn side. Like, it's easy to go somewhere and go win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. But this is the hard way to do it, and we did it.
We welcome you in to the Small Ball Podcast alongside the great Trevor Mickulin, the wise Christian Dennis. I'm Scott Ayers. We have a special guest in our studio today, Kyle Gering. Kyle, give it up.
Thank you, Small Ball fam. I'm really excited to be here and talk some Suns basketball. Been a fan my whole life and been through ups and downs, and here we are. I think this is probably the peak of my Suns fandom being on this podcast, but really excited.
So you've been a fan your whole life of Small Ball Podcast? Is that what you mean, or are you talking about Suns?
For the Suns.
It was primarily small ball, but also
Good answer.
Yeah, I'm glad. I should have clarified that. My bad. First mistake.
Well, it's a treat to have you here on the Small Ball. And, of course, he doesn't have a mic today, so we can't call on him. But our great producer, Andy, working behind the scenes. As always, he deserves a shout-out. He deserves a mention. We're continuing our tour of the U.S., different small to mid-market teams.
The bus keeps rolling, baby.
It just keeps rolling.
We're taking the weirdest route.
It's been weird.
All over the place.
Left to right.
Recalculating.
Yeah.
Up and down.
Take a left.
Make a U-turn.
But we have stopped in the great city of Phoenix, and we will be covering the Phoenix Suns, or as some like to call them, the Phoenix Buns, because
they're toasted.
Oh, they are toasted. But we will get into more of what we expect them to do this season. But let's talk a little bit about their last season. They finished as the #1 team in the West. Kyle, I'm watching you nod your head. It's like watching Kyle it's his D-Day, it seems like. Just thinking about the Suns postseason. They survived the Pelicans in 6. And then they have that fatal Game 7 against the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I thought we were not going to talk about that, but I guess I was kidding. Yeah, it was a great season watching us reach the top of the ladder finally. Playoffs came about, and there was a lot of expectations after the previous season going to the NBA Finals and losing to the Milwaukee Bucks. A lot of expectation came in, but what I will say is that Willie Green destroyed the Phoenix Suns. He had a great game plan for us, being a former assistant of the Phoenix Suns, and he just destroyed us. They found a great way to stop us and limit Chris Paul, limit Booker, and let our not as talented players do whatever they wanted. And at the end of the day, that was a big reason why we kind of fell, and then Dallas picked up on that and just did it 10 times better. So very, very sad, heartbreaking ending to last season, and it kind of trickled into where we're at now. And I think all Suns fans are obviously hopeful, but we've kind of stepped down that ladder a little bit.
Yeah, I think the regular season for the Suns, it was a good one. They were #1 overall net rating, and so their offensive rating and defensive rating were top 5 each, top 4 each, I think. And so regular season was awesome. And for Suns fans, I'm guessing you're at the top of the world. Your team is #1 in the West.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's you're rolling into the offseason, the postseason, and Willie Green hit you guys in the jaw and showed the weakness, and the downfall just was so fast. And I think, we're going to talk about it, but the offseason has been atrocious for the Suns, for the franchise. Just a tough year for the Suns after a great regular season, really hard offseason.
And I will say, too, the series felt like, against Dallas, it felt like things kind of swayed in the wrong direction for Phoenix when Devin Booker got fouled on, I think, an and one, pretended to be hurt, looks at the camera and says, the Luka special. That was a moment I think a lot of NBA fans were like, you're kind of an a-hole for doing something like that, especially because it's Luka, who's a top 5 player in the NBA, was a top 3 player in those playoffs. As a Suns fan, you see Booker do that. What was your initial reaction? And then what was your reaction when kind of Luka kind of returned the favor the rest of the series?
Yeah, so I think as a fan of anyone watching Luka Doncic play, he does get a lot of calls. He does flop a lot, but that's his game, and he knows how to use his body very well. And I think when Booker did that, as a Suns fan, we were kind of excited and like, all right, let's go. Because Booker, he does talk a lot, but this was a really big moment for him to kind of use a player's name and get a national stage. But I think at the end of the day, clearly that bit us on the butt. And ever since those fatal words, Luka decided to really, really go off. So it was really tough watching. And again, just seeing them just pick us apart left and right after the Willie Green kind of game plan against us. And they just outlasted us. And clearly we didn't really have that much of an answer for that.
Yeah, I feel like it never works out for the player that talks first. Like when Luka or when Devin Booker does that, and after the game, like Luka's like, "Oh, it's easy to talk when you're up," and then it's like Luka put the money where the mouth is, sort of thing, and just took over, and it was a dominant performance from him from basically the whole series, and it was Luka magic. It was insane, and what they did in Game 7. You can go into all the conspiracies there.
Did they have COVID?
Did they? Did Luka give them COVID? That's a hot take right there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the Suns just I felt like their window was closed as soon as they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals.
Oof. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. Really quick on the Luka Doncic. Booker, you could have chosen anyone on Dallas to pick on or
pick on Jalen Brunson.
Which he actually did.
Did he?
I think it was game 2. He had an and one and kind of turned to him and I think said something along the lines of too effing small. So
you could have done anything though. When you're laying on the ground, you could have been like the Dwight Powell special or whatever. But the Maxi Kleber special. You chose Luka Doncic. That dude's gonna tear you apart. Yeah. He's something special, and it was cool to see. Suns fans, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but yeah.
And I don't mean to rub salt in, the very apparent wound, but I don't know if I have ever seen such a terrible and lackluster performance from a 1 seed in their most important game of the season. And you can talk about sickness and everything like that, but the fact of the matter is a lot of teams are dealing with something in the postseason. No one's 100%. And to just see that and watch that performance was shocking because that's what kind of Phoenix did to everyone throughout the regular season was, hey, we are better than you. We're going to outcoach you. We're going to outsmart you. And so to just watch it all come to a halt was shocking. Just especially against a Mavs team, which was talented, but I don't think anyone thought they were that much better than Phoenix on that night.
Yeah, thanks again for inviting me to the podcast, guys. I'm having a really good time. But no, clearly we had a couple bad games throughout the series. We did that, the postseason beforehand, and even against the Pelicans, there were some bad games. And the last thing I think any Suns fans could have expected was that huge blowout. Again, a couple games we let slip, a couple games we didn't look like ourselves, but I thought Monty Williams, Chris Paul, Booker would pull it together for Game 7, and like I told you guys before, after the first quarter was over, and I saw Booker took 2 shots and Crowder took 8, I knew we were in deep doo-doo, and then it kind of went downhill from there. And again, the game plan is clear: limit Booker as much as you can, tire Chris Paul out, let Crowder do whatever he wants, push Ayton around and kind of go one-on-one with Mikal Bridges, and they did that, and Crowder took full advantage of it, and here we are now.
Right, and we won't continue to live in the past. Let's look a little bit more in the offseason.
Thank you.
Which, unfortunately for the Suns, you hope for an offseason with, drama-free, making right moves and decisions, which for some they did, right? They re-signed Devin Booker. They brought back Bismack Biyombo, and DeAndre Ayton got a qualifying offer. But if you look at the Suns offseason, you still don't give it a very good grade. It's been a bad offseason for the Suns.
They also lost Suns legend Frank Kaminsky. That's a hard hit. I don't think he was playing with them in the postseason, but last year they had him on the team, and he's going to be a Hawk this next season. Do you have anything to add to that, Christian?
Yeah. For the listeners out there who don't know Kyle, his player comp is Frank Kaminsky.
Right I will walk out right now.
That's a really good player comp.
You know, he's
almost national champ.
Runner-up.
Yep. Christian and I have played many intramural basketball games in college alongside Kyle Gering. And when I kid you not, when I'm watching Kyle Gering play basketball, I see flashes of Frank the Tank Kaminsky. Just so silky smooth.
Yeah, he's a big guy who can stretch the floor. He's just a tank commander.
And
guy you want on your team.
On the court and also off the court.
Yes.
A goofball, silly, fun.
Kind of look alike.
They kind of look. They are
same
literally, height? Same height. There's literally no player or maybe anyone in the world that I would say is more like you. Any thoughts on that?
Me, myself, I would compare myself more to a Devin Booker than a Frank Kaminsky. I understand the comp, tall white guy who shoots threes.
Fun.
But I just think at the end of the day, it's disrespectful. And
Would you say Frank is more of a winner than you?
I would say Frank should not be on a basketball court ever. There was a 4-minute video actually of before the All-Star break, missed layups by Frank Kaminsky on the Phoenix Suns. Hey, this man could be wide open. He looks like Helen Keller trying to lay up a ball. It's really, really, really bad. And I'm very happy he's no longer on the Suns.
That video is incredible also.
With that being said, Frank Kaminsky, send us a video of your response on Kyle. We'll send you some game film so you can watch his game as well. But I think could be a little duo.
Do you follow him on social
I
media?
have blocked him on all social so I know that he's been looking to reach out to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep him on red. Yeah,
It's true too. That's not a bit.
Yeah, no, I want nothing. I don't want anything. No for yous. I don't want to see anything.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's an important thing to know from fandom of teams is we have these guys we love and the guys that maybe we don't go to war with. And it turns out Kyle's not a Frank Kaminsky guy, which is strange because he's a Wisconsin Badger. He was a top 10 pick. You forget that, Kyle.
Yeah.
Have some respect.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Yes.
2.0. He's still 29 years old.
He's in the prime of his career.
Who knows?
He just needs a chance.
Him and Dragon Bender.
Oh, yeah.
The real Suns fan know. Worst, just players in a Suns uniform.
Tough.
Yeah, really bad.
Also,
Tough.
Trevor, my DoorDash is here. Could you grab it really quick?
Oh, yeah. So Scott ordered Taco Bell. We knew it was going to come mid-show. Now's the
sponsored.
moment.
Yeah.
Let's talk DeAndre Ayton.
Let's talk DeAndre Ayton because this was another aspect of our sponsor Taco Bell, five-layer burrito and a Sierra Mist. Thank you. Yeah, Trevor. Show the camera. Yeah, right there is perfect. Yeah. Perfect. So let's talk DeAndre Ayton because the DeAndre Ayton drama. It feels like a negative. The Suns signed DeAndre Ayton, and he still feels like a hostage in Phoenix. The whole saga, he almost signs he does sign with Indiana. Phoenix says, we're actually going to match that. He's a Sun, but guys, it just felt like a very strange situation for Ayton.
I just didn't see the whole point of it, too, because they matched him in like 20 minutes, like after he signed the qualifying offer signed the offer to Indiana. Why did they wait? Why didn't they just give it to him?
Here's what happened is you can't let that kind of player walk for nothing. Okay. So Indiana offers the contract and, they're in contact with Phoenix talking about possible sign-in trades. Phoenix probably wanted something like a Miles Turner and maybe picks or any other players that you would add in?
Buddy Hield was one of them that I saw some rumors going around. That's what I think a lot of Suns fans wanted, was a sign and trade of some sorts, because he didn't want to be here.
And so there was probably an ask that Indiana didn't feel comfortable with doing, and they probably said, you know what, all that we're going to be able to give you is Miles Turner. We're going to sign him. He's probably going to agree. It's on you. And Suns were probably like, you know what, we're going to re-sign him then. You're not going to get your guy. And I think that they called the bluff, and it wasn't a bluff, and the Suns actually did re-sign. That's what I think happened.
Yeah, and I think basically, I mean, we all, it's very well known that Chris Paul's very hard on his big men. Booker has kind of tag team with that, and I think at some point Ayton was kind of fed up with it, and also he wasn't a big part of our offense, which is crazy because, you know, if he does do a post up, he's pushed out of the way. He's you know, not the toughest guy down there, but we've seen flashes where he does between the legs, spin move, reverse layup. It's crazy. So I think he wanted more of a bigger role, and I don't think we wanted to do that. On top of him being bullied by Chris Paul and Devin Booker, I think he was fed up and just wanted a fresh start. And again, with the sign and trade not really working out to something that we want, they want, like you said, you can't just let him walk. You have to do something and hope that relationship mends, and we'll see what happens. I hope he is professional and comes to play, but January 15th, I believe, is a big day for the Phoenix Suns, because that's the first day that we are able to trade him, and that's kind of been just lurking over media day, DeAndre Ayton, and you know, in general. So we'll see how it plays out. I really hope that he does come in motivated and want to kind of hush those critics.
Do you think they give him a bigger offensive role based off what happened this offseason?
I think so, because I think Chris Paul is only getting older, and we don't want him to. We don't need / want Chris Paul to score 20 a game. We don't need Chris Paul to play 40 minutes a game, right? Someone needs to pick it up, right? And obviously Booker's our number one option, will always be our number one option. Mikal Bridges has gotten better every year in offense, but we need to force down low. And again, it's tough because I have not seen Ayton be a dominant post-up guy, but top of the key, he has some dribble moves, which I don't think a lot of people understand, and mid-range shot's really good. He's, you know, getting the three-pointer down. So I'm interested to see how Monty integrates it. And I honestly do think that Chris Paul will take a step back for DeAndre Ayton. And
defensively, too, Ayton has proven himself. I think he's a really good interior defender. He holds his own against guys like Jokic, and I think that bodes well for him. But the saying goes, winning kind of cures all these things. So Phoenix comes out of the gates, and they play like they did, and Ayton gets a bigger role. I think things will be happy in Phoenix, but there are a lot of just question marks. That's the biggest thing for Phoenix right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Wrapping up the DeAndre Ayton kind of talk, I would also say, just from the franchise perspective and James Jones, it's really, really encouraging for Suns fans. I think you guys should look at it this way. It's positive asset management, where you don't let guys walk, even though you're giving them a contract that maybe, you know, you wouldn't want to. Clearly, a team is willing to pay him that much. He signed it with Indiana, so it's good asset management to keep these guys in without giving up, you know, without not getting anything back. So, props to James Jones.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about that, today was Suns Media Day, and he, you know, there's a quote from him saying, "I'm done taking baby steps. I'm ready to play angry and play tough," which I think is huge for Suns fans to hear, because playoffs especially, I mean, first round, Jonas Valanciunas, game one, I think had like literally over 22 rebounds, offensive rebounds like over 11. That happens a lot with Ayton. He gets bullied. He gets pushed around. So for him to say, "I'm done taking baby steps, like I need a big role, and I'm going to do it," is really encouraging for the Suns fans to hear. Maybe he wasn't the happiest today, but with him saying, you know, "I'm ready to take that step, no more messing around," was really, really big for Suns fans to hear, rather than being complacent with where we're at, you know.
Definitely. And let's move on, because there were a few other signings, none Damian Lee, Josh Okogie, but those are maybe bench guys you mentioned that could help fill that role. They lose JaVale McGee. As you mentioned, today was Media Day, so if you're listening to this either on Spotify or YouTube, we're probably a week away from that. Or in terms, it's already been a week since Media Day. And Media Day was grim for the Phoenix Suns. And that is because Robert Sarver, did I say that correct?
You did say that correct, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
correct. It turns out he's not a great dude, which a lot of Suns fans already knew. A lot of fans in the NBA knew. He's going to sell the team. Jay Crowder wants out of Phoenix. And there are a lot of reports that today was a historically not fun day in Phoenix for Media Day.
I think that kind of just shows where the franchise is right now. Christian, you mentioned it. You said that after the Bucks loss, you felt like the window was closed. I think last year, the window was still open. It's just unfortunately with how the playoffs rolled out, they kind of fizzled out. I think that I wouldn't say the window is completely closed because we've seen what they can do. They've made it to that stage, and then they followed it up with the number 1 seed in the West. I will say, though, that the window is just maybe open by a creek, and it's tough. And with all the stuff that's going on with the franchise, like you mentioned, Scott, dark days in Phoenix for sure.
I'm having a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for the invite. Just want to make that clear. Thanks for the invite.
Have you had a lot of fun so far?
Really, really fun.
Oh, okay, good.
No, but definitely Media Day was a big, like you guys said, it was a sad one. Obviously, the players went in knowing that they're going to have a lot of questions about Robert Sarver. And I think any Suns fan listening, we all know what type of dude Sarver was for a very long time, and now it's just public knowledge. There's been a lot of allegations, and, it's kind of funny because he put out a statement just being like, this is cancel culture. I guess I apologize, but like, it's ridiculous. So there's been, reports in the past where he would walk into an old coach's office and tell him, you need to sit this guy, play this guy. You're not doing your job correctly. That's not what
nightmare.
That's not what an owner is meant to do. So I think we're all very relieved that Sarver is finally selling the team. I think it will help free agents in the future potentially want to make Phoenix a destination, because I think the overwhelming kind of cloud over us for a very long time was Robert Sarver. So happy about that. And then with Jay Crowder, obviously, there was a mutual decision. I think he wanted, an extension, a bigger role, and we do not want that for Jay Crowder. I've told the boys that there's Jay Crowder and there's Bossman 99. We love Bossman 99, and Jay Crowder, he should not be playing basketball.
What is Bossman 99?
Bossman 99 is the guy who salsa danced in front of LeBron James.
Yeah.
Bossman 99 is the one who, will throw a punch if needed.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
So that's Bossman 99.
Yeah.
Very savage. But again, Jay Crowder, good defender, solid guy for us when we needed him. Where we're going now, he just doesn't have a spot in our team. And I honestly think there's no hard feelings between Crowder and the Suns. I just think he deserves to be on a top contender, which I could see, him going to potentially, hopefully with a trade, something like that.
The reason why I love Jay Crowder is he'll be like 2 of 10 shooting in a game. And then when you need to make a three, he's either going to splash it or airball it. It's the Jay Crowder specials, I like to call it.
It may hit the third row.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jay Crowder, he's requested a trade. He's not going to report to camp until he is traded. What are some potential options for Phoenix in trying to get rid of Jay Crowder?
Yeah, I think there's a decent market for the teams that are looking to take next steps. Like there was a report that the Celtics, Heat, and Grizzlies were 3 teams that were interested in Jay Crowder. The packages that you could get from him, I'm not necessarily sure what, because Jay's making about I believe 10 mil. So whatever contracts you are sending back, you obviously have to match it. Sam Vecini from The Athletic made a trade idea with actually the Sacramento Kings, which was I thought was really interesting. And it was Jay Crowder, Dario Saric and a future first-round pick for Harrison Barnes. And I thought it was kind of interesting because Harrison Barnes, the production that Jay Crowder can provide, you could find some similarities there. But it was just really interesting in the fact that is Harrison Barnes even worth that kind of package for a Suns team?
One more year left, and he's making 18 mil this year. And he would most likely re-sign with a team like the Suns, a contender. But what are your thoughts initially on that, Kyle?
Throw in your point guard, and I think we'll have a deal. No, I think Harrison Barnes would fit the Suns. Obviously, I haven't watched him as much as you guys have, but I think his play style fits the Suns. I don't know if I'd want to give up a first-round pick. Dario Saric, or as Suns fan know him as Super Dario, is coming off an injury, hasn't played that well in the Euro League, this whatever cup they're playing in right now.
Yep.
So, I think there could be an open discussion about it. I wouldn't mind Harrison Barnes, but I don't know about a first-round pick. But I think he could fit our team. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there was rumors back in the KD trade summer that if KD's trade didn't go through, then the Suns were in talks with the Kings to get Harrison Barnes as like a backup plan, which I don't know what that package was discussed about during the offseason, but I know that when KD's trade failed, they came to the Kings, were like, all right, let's do it. And the Kings were like, no, we want more. Which they should, because, I mean, if you're trying to get KD and the Suns are looking desperate, you got to take advantage of that. And that's why they didn't come to a deal. But, I mean, for the Suns, I just feel like, if you're trying to go with Cam Johnson, kind of being that, I'm assuming, like the power forward for you guys and let him play, bringing in a player like Harrison Barnes kind of hinders his growth.
Yeah, and we love Cam Johnson. Love Cam Johnson. I just don't know if he could be a starting four for us. His defense has gotten better, and I give the guy so much credit. Not the biggest guy, but he's always in a defensive stance. He's always hustling, but he's just going to get bullied by some of these guys out there. Again, amazing shooter, great slasher. Just don't know if he can be the starter for our team, and it looks like it may happen. And if that is the case, then we need to upgrade our bench a lot, because right now he's really our only bench guy. Was a Sixth Man of the Year finalist last year. Great player for the Suns. I really like him in that role as a sixth man. Coming off the bench, again, with Crowder, I think Cam Johnson always played more minutes than Crowder. So we love Cam Johnson, just don't know if he's, I guess, big enough, good enough to be a starter. Defensively, of course. Offensively, he's a beast. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see what the market looks like for Crowder. I think he's very similar to a PJ Tucker. He's going to go to a contender. He's going to have a good role for a contender. And we'll see what we can get back in return. Don't know if we're going to have that big of an asking price, but it'll be interesting to see for sure.
It is, and it's, as we said, one of the question marks for the Phoenix Suns, which now brings us to that question. What do we expect the Suns to do this regular season and postseason? And I have to say, I am fully on board with Christian. I do think that window is closed for the Phoenix Suns. I think that the West has just, since that finals run against the Bucks, teams have gotten healthy, teams have improved, and the Suns haven't done enough in this offseason. They haven't done enough with an aging Chris Paul to keep that window open. So we've mentioned it before, what's going on around you, and the teams around Phoenix, I think, are just going to be too good to keep that window open. Regular season-wise, there's still a lot of question marks. This team could still finish in top 5 in the West, and it wouldn't be a surprise. But there's also this part of me that thinks, I want to be shocked to see them finish 9th in the West and just have a slow start, have it be really grim, and then you trade DeAndre Ayton for assets in the future. Because Phoenix didn't even have a draft pick in the last draft, right? There's no building of that future from this last offseason. So that's where my concerns are for Phoenix. And Kyle, I'm sorry, I know it's like a dagger going into your side that you don't want to hear, but I haven't seen enough from Phoenix to really be impressed for what they're going to do in the regular and postseason.
You know, Scott, those are crazy words, and those crazy words I kind of believe as well.
Yeah, nice.
I just
It's us against them.
I just feel that this year Chris Paul is going to take a huge step down.
I agree.
In his productivity. He's so old now. He's like 38, I think.
37, they call him Grandpa Paul.
They've been saying that for years, man.
Yeah, but it's different when you're 6 foot. You know, if you're 6'9" and your name's LeBron James, totally different story. I just think that
He just needs to do the loopholes with the refs, and that's how he serves his purpose. He doesn't need to be.
I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm just going to say he's not going to be as productive as what he's been. I just think he's going to take a step down, and I feel bad because the Suns, since they required Chris Paul, this whole entire time they should have picked up like a young guard, so that Chris Paul can mentor. You know who would have been the perfect pick? But they picked Jalen Smith is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh,
Think about if
man.
Tyrese Halliburton was on the Suns and he was learning from Chris Paul. Chris Paul probably wouldn't even be on the Suns at this point. And so I just feel like with the tensions too of DeAndre Ayton, we'll see, is he going to try to just pump up his stats, or is he going to try to be a winner and be locked into the Suns culture, who him and Monty kind of have bashed heads in the past? And I don't know. There's some drama, of course, in the Suns, but I don't think they're going to fall all the way to like the 9th.
That's not where I'm picking. I just said I want to be surprised. And
Yeah.
quick question too is Frank Jackson the backup guard right now in Phoenix? Who's the backup point guard for the Suns?
Cameron Payne is our backup point guard. And producer Andy, this is recording, right? I just want to make sure we got it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Thanks, producer Andy.
What's your seed then? Give a number.
I think they're middle of the pack. I think they're probably dancing at the 4 and the 5.
Let me preface this too. I said I want to be
Hot of a
surprised.
take. That's not
I want to
hot
be
of a take.
surprised
That's
if
good.
I mean, to go from the 1st in the West and then to drop
To the
4
4?
and the 5. The 4 and the 5 in the West is like you're looking at like, I know it was the Mavericks that was like the 4 or 5 this year, but like the Mavericks team last year was like, you look at it, was really not good. You can't look at the Dallas Mavericks and be like, that's a good team.
They played good against the number 1 seed Suns in the playoffs.
Yeah. And the Suns aren't good this year is what I'm trying to tell
So
you.
they're going to be the 4th seed in the West? It's not adding up to me.
No. I'm saying they're going to be middle of the pack, which is not a good team. If you're the Suns and you want to be a serious contender, you don't want to be a 4 and a 5. 4 and a 5 isn't going to win you a championship.
Okay.
You're just a playoff team.
I would
that's
agree.
just it.
I put them at 4 or the 5 spot.
Okay. I thought this take was spicier than it was, but you can go ahead and give yours. Or no, we'll finish with yours. Grand finale. I think I got the Suns top 3 in the West after this season. I think that they're going to be right up there and have a great regular season. If there's any coach in the NBA that's going to be able to rally the valley, if you will, rally the boys in that locker room to just come together and put together a good team, it's going to be Monty Williams. So I got the Suns top 3. I think that amidst all the chaos, they're going to find a way to be successful this regular season.
Surprising to some parts agree with Christian and Scott. I could see us 4 or 5 seed. However, we have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Ayton, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up, Mikal Bridges. You can't count us out. Last season, the Dallas Mavericks were the 4th seed. Last season, the Milwaukee Bucks were the 3rd seed. 76ers. You said that that is a bad team. You cannot count us out. I think the West has improved very, very well. I would put us above the Sacramento Kings. I would put us above the Denver Nuggets.
Ooh,
Is that
whoa? That's Scott's number 1 seed.
I know.
Going to the conference
Number
finals.
1 seed?
I
Would you guys
give
put us
I'd put
above
Denver
them?
above Phoenix if healthy. I'd put Denver.
I like
above Phoenix.
Denver right now.
I put Phoenix above Denver.
Produce Andy.
Yes, thank
He
you.
screams no from the stands.
Phoenix is so much better.
Phoenix is so much better.
Producer Andy said Phoenix is so much better. I have to agree.
Yeah.
And again, sure, you have Jokic. Fine. I do not like Aaron Gordon. This is becoming a Suns versus Nuggets one, but
that's fine. You don't have to like him. We talked about the Nuggets last week. What you brought up,
Jamal Murray more?
Yeah, please. Those teams you mentioned, though, the Bucks have Giannis. The Mavs have Luka. You mentioned the Sixers. They have Embiid.
And Harden.
The Suns have a fringe top 10 player in Booker.
Frank Jackson, too.
And they have Frank Jackson, which Booker's phenomenal, and I won't bash Booker, but you just mentioned teams that have like top 5 guys who are certified, like they're going to get it done, and I don't believe that Phoenix can do that anymore with Chris Paul being at the age he is.
Well, I think that is a good take, and I think that some of these teams, they do have a star, but we also have every one of our positions right now, other than the 4, is a very solid piece rather than we just have Giannis. We just have Jokic. Not saying that Jamal Murray's not good, but...
And, yeah, they have other players.
Yeah, and like Chris Paul, top 10 point guard, I would say, currently in the league as a true point guard, one of the best of all time. Booker, probably a top 2, top 3 shooting guard in the league. Mikal Bridges was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. Ayton, it's hard to name 5 centers better than him. 4 seed.
I think I can do that right now. I think it'd be easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Embiid?
Embiid, Jokic,
Cat.
Domantas Sabonis.
Gobert.
Bam Adebayo.
Okay.
Nikola Vucevic.
Okay.
Jonas Valanciunas.
There we go
I
on.
do like Jonas Valanciunas.
Jonas
a lot.
Valanciunas.
But that's what I'm saying, guys. It's we have guys all around our bench. There's work to do, and I trust James Jones. I trust Monty Williams so much, and we just have a little bit more work to do.
Sure.
We have a solid team, and with Chris Paul running the point, with Devin Booker right there, dare I say, Mamba mentality.
Ooh.
Please keep doubting us.
And again,
Producer Andy, we're recording, right? Receipts.
Yeah,
Keep
no,
it.
that's great. That's perfect. But those receipts do go both ways. So you have to remember that, Kyle. Receipts don't just go one way. They go both ways.
Here's the thing. We trusted Monty, baby. I trusted Monty
That's
Williams.
awesome.
Let's go. Rally the
There
valley.
we go. Rally the valley, baby.
Suns in 4. Suns in 4.
Let's go, baby.
That's probably what they said when he was the coach of the Hornets too. They believe in Monty, and then things came crashing and burning. That's what happens in the NBA.
He is a believer.
He is a believer, and he can be a believer. There's been great believers. Peter was a believer. And he died upside down for crying out loud. Okay?
Are you saying Monty Williams is going to? Or
No, I'm just saying being a believer doesn't make you impossible to defeat, okay? But with that being said,
that is theological right there.
Yeah.
I have to give him that. That is a theological lesson right there.
Yeah, you didn't know you were going to get a lesson today, folks.
Welcome to Sunday school.
This is Small Ball Sunday School, folks. But I think this is probably like what most NBA fans, it's probably 50-50 of on their takes with the Suns of, no, this team still has it, or no, the window is closed. And that's why it's so exciting. We're just a couple weeks from the NBA season because those first couple weeks could be somewhat telling. We're going to see what happens with Jay Crowder. If they do a great trade with Crowder, that can change things. But until then, and even with Ayton, but until then, a lot has to happen.
Dream scenario for Crowder, would love a Jordan Clarkson and Jared Vanderbilt. Don't know what that's going to take from us, but I would love that type of trade. I think we need a shooter off the bench, a Jared Vanderbilt, a very, very good defender. That's what I would love. So I think Christian spoke something into existence a month or two ago. If you want to repeat what I just said.
No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay, so I have a couple notes for the media thing. I actually liked what I saw from the Suns. I thought that they looked locked in on the game, and all of them only wanted to talk about their game, and none of the reporters wanted to talk about that. All they were asking about was Sarver. They had DeAndre, I was telling Scott this earlier at work, and they had DeAndre at the podium, and the third question that he got from the day, the first one was about his contract, which, like, he's already said he wants his agent to handle it, and he doesn't care. He just wants his agent to handle it. Right? So his agent did that, and he wants to move on. He wants to play ball, right? And they're kind of like, the media was like trying to like paint this picture and like create this story out of nothing. And then they start asking him about Jay Crowder, and then they start asking him about Sarver. And it wasn't until like the third reporter where they actually asked about, oh, what have you been working on this summer? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting locked in, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, contrary to what like everybody saw that it was like depressing and everything, yeah, it's going to be depressing. Your owner is a piece of crap. You know, like that's the expectation that they're going to go in with, and it's going to be a little bit grim, but to me, it looked like they were locked in on the season. So I just needed to get that off. And then for the expectations, okay. I didn't believe you at first, Christian, but after hearing you and Scott like kind of give your opinions and everything, I understand how it would look that the Suns kind of don't have a shot right now.
That they're dead.
And they're not. I would not say that they're dead, because that just feels like counting them out. And I don't think that you should count them out. I think that there's some dogs, and I think that there are a lot of young players that are just getting better. Yes, Chris Paul is old as heck, but
Grandpa Paul.
Yeah. But I don't think that you should count them out. I think they're still a really young, like, feisty team that if they want to turn it on, they can do it. And I'm really excited to see that this year.
I think the mountain right now is Golden State in the West. And can you defeat the Golden State Warriors in 7 games? And that's a question for every team, because what we witnessed in the postseason is that's a team, you mentioned turn it on, they'll go on like a 20-0 run in the span of like 12 seconds. And you're like, we were just up 8, now we're down 12. And so that's going to be the question for not only Phoenix, but every team in the West. But that's just what this conversation kind of sparked in my thought process is, how do you get it done if you're Phoenix? What does that look like? I'm not sure, but I think it starts with a Crowder trade, maybe gain some assets. You mentioned bulking that bench as well for the Suns.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think that's our biggest question mark right now. Our starting lineup is basically set other than the 4, and our bench has some guys that can contribute. You know, I'm excited to see a Damian Lee. I'm excited to see Campaign kind of come off a rough season. Our backup 5s, they have something to prove. So I think with the solid bench and kind of giving Chris Paul a little bit of a break sometimes will definitely help us. And like I said, I'm as excited to watch the Suns as anyone and kind of see how we respond to the negativity from Scott Ayers. And so I think, you know, after we're holding up a trophy, you know,
there's
Scott Ayers, this is for you.
Biggest clown.
Count us out, baby.
Count us out. Yeah,
Count
I
us
love
out.
being the number one piece of adversity for the Suns. I'm just out there.
We have your picture in our practice facility.
I'm just outside.
Look at this every day.
Yeah. Scott of a Small Ball Podcast. Number one enemy of the Phoenix Suns.
In your predictions, they're going to be the 4th seed.
Yeah,
They are so bad. They're going to be the 4th seed.
Yeah.
They are so bad.
Well, I think it threw you guys off because I was like, they could be as low as a 9. I wouldn't be surprised, but they're not going to be the 9th seed. I'm just saying, if they finish as the 9th seed, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I'd carry on with my day. Yeah, clickbait title, and he says, that's perfect. Well, I think it's that time. Kyle, you did a great job on your one and only time on the Small Ball Podcast.
He'll be on the Kings episode.
Oh, that's right. He will be on the Kings episode. We're going to invite you back for one more episode. That's going to be wonderful. But to sign things off, for our great producer, Andy, our greater friend, Trevor Mikulin, one of the greatest friends, Christian Dennis, and the greatest, Kyle Gering, I'm Scott Ayers. We say so long for now, and we will see you next week.
Suns in 4.
Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're here, why don't you give us a like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at Small Ball Podcasts.